Hey, Brian from Garage Mahal. Today we are working on a 2016 Chevy Cruze with a 1.4 liter engine and the Snoopy edition. So, the customer brought this car to me and was complaining that it was not performing well. It had check engine light, so we checked the check engine light out, and it was saying that it had a misfire, cylinder 2. So what we're going to do is we are basically going to change the plugs out, and we are going to put in a new ignition coil. Typically ignition coils are single ones, but this one comes all together as one. So this should be a little interesting. What I like to do is spray the inside down with some WD-40 and then let that leak out just to make the plugs go on a little bit easier. But you're basically snapping this control lid off, and then it's going to be a T30, and the best way to do this is like on an extension socket, and then there's just the 2 screws down here. I loosened them ahead of time, so they should come out pretty easy. I'm trying these grease monkey gloves out since the nitro gloves seem to be short supply nowadays. And alright, so it's a little bit of a long screw. Take this out a little bit more. So that's up. Alright, so that's the second screw. Now the tricky part is this little wiring harness. And if you've been around cars long enough, you know that each one is a little tricky. This one, I believe we pushed this little purple piece out. Let me spray that with some WD as well. Give it a quick blast. So I know these things like to stick. Alright, okay, there we go. And then on this one, you got to kind of push forward on this. Then it's going to slide up a little bit easier. I'm taking it out. Just be careful, these things get brittle over time. So, there we go. Okay, so that's out. And then this bar should pull up relatively easy. Okay. Alright, so that's the old one. And we can immediately see a problem. That plug is already... Okay, it was just a spring on the coil. The whole boot stuck in there. So, grab a pair of pliers. And we're a little messy today. Haven't had a chance to clean up from all the work I did over the weekend. But, alright, so let's pull this boot out. This is probably part of the reason why this one failed. Even though I don't think that's number 2. But definitely not a good sign either way. Okay, so that bar is garbage. Alright, so we got the plugs in there, and you can see some oil pooling in here, so plugs probably weren't tight or whatever issue was going on with those. So I looked ahead of time and got my socket ready to go. We'll pull each one out, we'll inspect it and see what's going on. Enough. Let's see if that comes out. Nope, not yet. I think we're loose. So I've actually seen worse plugs than that, but see how it's all wet in there? So it's definitely not firing good, to say the least. So we'll just hang on to them so we can show the customer. Then we'll start putting the new plugs on. Again, AC Delco ones, they're pre-gapped. And for this car, you can see that's the model number. I put the link at the bottom, make it a little bit easier for everybody. But alright, when I put plugs back in, I like to cheat a little bit, and I like to use an old coil piece, just so I can feel the thread more so. Okay, then with the socket, and then I like to switch sockets, and then I use one that doesn't have the rubber in it, just because sometimes those boots get stuck down in there, those sockets get stuck, and it's a real pain in the butt to put them back in. Okay, there we go. Alright, so we'll tighten that down pretty good. Okay, so that one's nice and seated. Get the next plug out. Okay. All right. Just get close enough to get it by hand. Not yet. Okay. All right. Switch to. I thought I grabbed the one with the rubber grip, but all right. So I'll pull that plug out. So see, this is how this one should look. It's dry, it's been firing good, so we know that one's been working okay. Alright, next one. Like I said, it's an old piece of coil that I cut off another car, and I just like to put it on there again so I can get kind of a feel for the thread starting, so I don't cross thread anything. Sometimes with a socket it's hard to feel. Okay, so that one feels good. Going back and forth with the gloves, I know it's a pain. Not a huge fan of these grease monkeys. I know they last forever, but I don't know. I think if this is a large, I think if I had a medium pair, they'd probably fit me a little bit better. Okay, almost there. Okay, so that one's nice and tight. Switch sockets for the next one. Oops. I just like spinning it around sometimes. Okay, got that one. So that one looks nice and dry. So definitely there's some spark issues going on here. Like I said, she could have had an issue with either her coil or the plugs. But anytime I do a tune-up on these more modern cars, I absolutely positively put in a new coil. And some other cars, they have coil packs, which you have one sitting on top of each spark plug, which I think are better, because then if you have a problem with one, you can just change one instead of replacing a whole rail. But that's okay. Okay, tighten that down good. Alright, next one. Last one. That's one thing I like about 4-cylinder cars. You only have 4 plugs to change. Come on. Sometimes this just gets tiring. Okay, that's the last one. And you can tell this one is pretty wet too. So, conceivably looking at it, oh, see how it's dripping off into the cardboard there? Alright, so she definitely had a problem with either the ignition coil or the plugs themselves. And considering that it was 2 plugs that were wet, I'm inclined to believe that she had a problem with her coil. I haven't seen too many times where on a 4-cylinder you can have 2 bad plugs. I mean, it's possible, but I think it was just her coil went bad. Okay. Alright, hopefully you guys like my little coil trick there. Okay, almost done. Okay, got that plug nice and tight. Alright, so we're done with these. Put them away in a little bit. Like I said, now spray WD-40 in these just to make them slide onto the plugs a lot easier. Okay. I think that we are on. No, not quite. I think we're seated close, so I'm going to get these bolts in here, and then hopefully that'll pull it down a little bit further, make it a little bit easier. I'll put this side down first. Switch over. That way we got them kind of going down at the same time. something out. Okay. All right, I think we're good there. We'll go ahead and we'll connect this on, and that should just slide back on. Make sure it's seated all the way. Push that little clip in, so we're good there. This little decorative cover on here like this, and we're good. All right, so that's basically it. Well, we're here. We're going to check our oil level, and dirty oil, but she's full there. And the other part of the tune-up I'm going to do is I'm going to change this air filter out. It's got a bunch of screws. I already took them all out for the express. Took them all out to make it quicker and easier. And the air filter this guy takes, it's an EcoGuard XA6152. So that's a new filter. We'll pop this up. Pull the old one out. Put it there for a quick second. Put this new one in. Okay, that's good. Let's see what this one looks like. Oh boy. So that was probably another problem. She just wasn't breathing either. So that's a dirty filter. But okay, so that's garbage. All right, let's put these screws back in. Now we're down. All right, let's try that again. Okay, and that is how you do a quick tune-up on your 2016 limited edition 1.4 liter engine. Anyway, hopefully everybody found that helpful. Leave any comments you may have down below. And other than that, for liking and subscribing, I will list a parts list down at the bottom. You can find this stuff easy online. Anyway, have a great day. Brian from Garage Mahal. Be safe.